Welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James, and we're going to have a whole host of different people from different backgrounds coming in because it really is about building a community of like-minded people that's just open to listening and hearing from other perspectives. The revolution is going to be because of us. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask a Brother podcast. I'm your host, Jeff St. James. And listen, y'all, we're almost at 94,000 subscribers. So thank you again to all of the supporters and people that's been sharing the videos. Make sure y'all tune in for our Monday panels with the ladies, our Wednesday evening panels with the fellas, and please check out all the interviews. I know it's a lot of content. I'm pumping it out, but I told you I'm gonna try to be one of the busiest men on this side of YouTube if possible. So again, thank y'all for the love and support. Thank y'all for those that recently become subscribers and those that are not subscribers, those who have been members as well. And some of these interviews, a lot of the members are going to get access first. So a lot of more interviews that are going to be getting pumped out. The members are going to get a week worth of access prior to everybody else that's not a member, that the regular public being able to then get access to a lot of this stuff. So again, thank you all. Thank you for the support. We're like I said, I got some major announcements to announce in August. Well, it's my birthday month as well, but that's neither here nor there. But thank y'all, genuinely. All right, so this is a good interview, and I think that this is going to be a good interview. And every time I come across people recommend it, I'm always just trying to bring new perspectives, ideas, even just challenging, I think, a lot of different paradigms and approaches of how we tend to show up as men and women in these relationships. And I think the next person that we're going to add to the stage, she absolutely is somebody that you're going to want to follow, support. And when you hear her level of argumentation, and it's just common sense, but the way in which she articulates it, I think that it empowers people that are maybe suffering in a lot of relationships. And it also gives people legitimate agency again about what it is that they're choosing to tolerate and accept. So I'm excited about this for sure. So let me introduce her, and we're going to get going. So again, make sure you like this, make sure you are subscribers, and feel free to become a member if you are not. She is a certified relationship and life coach, the author of the Pre-Marriage Handbook, the conversations that build what vows alone cannot, and seeks to explore the various relationships, identity, and communication challenges that often arise. Today, we will get to have her on to discuss the tough stuff and help reframe how we should be looking at relationships when the dynamics change. So please, everybody, please help me welcome to Ask a Brother podcast for the very first time, Mrs. Natalie Warner. What's going on, ma'am?
Hello.
I cannot complain. Let me get the two horns out the way. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you?
I cannot complain. So for starters, I came across your stuff this year for the first time, and every single video, it was like thousands and thousands of views. And I was like, and then when I started realizing, I was like, she may be the new voice for men. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Listen, that's no small feat in my opinion. And as I think we're in an era now where the mirror is now being allowed to be shown both to men and to women of how they're showing up in relationships. And it's great to have women now also speaking on a lot of relationship challenges and really normalizing what's happening to both sexes and not strictly just looking at it through a female lens. But for my audience and everybody who's not, maybe they're coming across you for the very first time, why don't you start with your background and how you got into certified relationship coaching, and then also starting to share this stuff on content?
Yep. So it started a while back because when I went to university, I did an undergrad in philosophy. I wanted to go to law school. That's where I was heading, but I was excelling in philosophy, and it was teaching me how to think differently and all of that. So when I graduated, I got a position at a not-for-profit that worked with people impacted by crime. So I was working with all high-risk federal offenders in the community. With that organization, I started working with our high-risk youth in the community, our homeless, and then I facilitated anger management to mandated clients within the community for just over 10 years. That's when I decided where I was like, I don't want to go to law school. Every person that I meet in my community that is struggles with communication. That's where it starts. I advocated for so many people who didn't even know how to use their voice, whether they were youth or adults that had no idea. And their whole lives were a reflection of not having or being able to communicate appropriately, to have boundaries, any of those things. And it's devastating. People fall through every crack because they just don't know how to advocate for themselves and they're afraid to. And then you have people on the other side, right? Like the system and things on the other side that make it extraordinarily difficult, even for the ones that can, communicate or try to advocate for themselves. And the more I worked in the community and advocated for youth and our homeless population and, my mandated clients, the more I was like, you know what? I think that rather than me being in a courtroom battling out who gets what, I think that I would rather be in the preventative and all of, working in the community and helping people so that I can help them reintegrate back into society and be, effective in their own life, where it's like, once I'm going to help you to do this, you're going to be able to do this for yourself. And life changes completely when you're allowed to lay boundaries, when you're allowed to advocate. So when I started to work in my community, and it's like a community can only rise when it rises together. So that became everything to me, everything. And even now when I travel, I absolutely go to every community. I meet the people in that because that's where life lives.
So the secret script of removing sex from monogamous relationships, what would it sound like if someone were to be honest about removing sex completely from a relationship while still staying in it?
Well, it's a secret script because one person is doing it and dragging the other along. That's how I see it. That's how when clients come to me, my platform and that, it's funny because the recipe to the secret script is basically breadcrumbs.
Tell me more.
Because if I'm not going to tell you that I'm removing sex and intimacy, but I don't want to leave the relationship, I just have to drag you along with hope. Right? I just have to leave a cookie here, a chocolate chip there, and away I go. And you know what? Hope from breadcrumbs will keep you at that table. And I tell people, I say, hope without action is like trying to win the lottery without a ticket. There's nothing behind the words. 7% of communication is the words we use. That's it. That's why talk is cheap. It means nothing. Wow. It doesn't. But look at the behaviors. It's rare that you're going to hear your partner come and say, hey, listen, I know that sex and intimacy is really important to you and we used it to build our relationship and fall in love and bond, but I don't want it anymore and I just can't be bothered. But we're not going to open this because then you're going to find out that I quit everything and you're going to get pissed off and know that you deserve better. So instead of me telling you the honest truth and being accountable for the fact that I didn't nurture my feelings to be able to maintain the commitment, I'm just going to sex shame you and drag you along until your mental health deteriorates so far, you have no self-worth. So where are you going to go? Nowhere. You're going nowhere. That's why I think they don't really talk about what is really they're doing. That's why the breadcrumbs matter, the false hope, all that bullshit along the way, because it comes to a certain point when you're looking in your rearview mirror going, well, I don't have many years left anyway. What am I going to do? Pick up and try all over again?
Oh, so that's the script that they're going off of, but they're not expressing exactly what it is that they're doing, but they're still, oh my God.
Because here's the thing. If there's a legitimate reason that you have to remove sex, why wouldn't you bring your partner into that conversation so that they can show up for you? And if there's not a legitimate reason for you wanting to remove all intimacy from a commitment that you made,
why are you saying?
Exactly, unless it's to get everything that you want for your comfort at their expense. There's literally no reason. Why? There's literally no other reason. You're getting everything you want, and all it costs you is a bunch of breadcrumbs that you don't have to fulfill anyway, because as long as you can convince them that one day it'll happen, they'll hold on to hope. You know why they hold on to hope? Because they trust their partner.
Oh. So you're justified enough to cut off the sex indefinitely. You don't have to work on it. You can breadcrumb him to stay, and you can get all the
Or
perks, or her, yeah, or the and get all the perks of remaining in the relationship. Oh my god.
of course, think about it. Think about it. And
Mm.
then and then we have this clever, right? We have this clever. And they're not wrong. Nobody is wrong when they say this. My body, my choice. You are absolutely right. But here's where you're wrong. Your body, my choice as well, and you're going to be celibate because no, the fuck, I'm not.
Ooh. This is why UFC was dangerous on the internet. Oh
Here,
my god, but wow, it's like if it's my body, my choice, that applies to you personally, but you can't apply that same logic to
not
myself.
at all. Because then it's like,
Oh.
how can you do that? How can I say my body, my choice while stepping over your body and your choice and saying, but yours doesn't matter?
Ooh, my
I
god.
can only stop people from having sex with me. That's it. That's where it all ends. How I value sex starts and ends with me and me alone. I cannot push that onto my partner and say, I don't value sex, so neither do you. But they try,
Whoa.
right? Because that's where the sex shaming, that's all you think about. That's all you want. It's constant with you. Is it?
Mhm,
Is
mhm.
it? Or did you just vacate a commitment that you made? And now you don't want to be accountable for it. So rather than be accountable, you're going to sex shame me. But the reality is that in order to remove the sex without a conversation or consent, you had to remove respect first. So now I don't have respect. I don't have any intimacy. What are you removing next? The whole point of the secret script is
Mhm,
to minimize sex, to
mhm.
shame it out of your partner as if it just doesn't matter at all. It shouldn't matter to you, as if that change, that huge change shouldn't matter. And
Wow.
it's and what's crazy to me is people will be like, well, if you don't like it, leave. Wait a minute. They left the commitment. They left it when they took all intimacy off the table and never told me. The same way as if I had an affair and never told my partner and they never knew about it, I still broke the commitment.
Mm, mm.
Like,
Wow.
we look at infidelity and we're like, that's the worst thing ever. So cheating on your partner is worse than cheating your partner out of the agreement. I think that's a false moral high ground. I think you built the soapbox on your own
Uh-huh.
with my body, my choice, while stomping on your partners.
Ooh. Ooh. You had made a post where you said if divorce rates weren't expensive and brutal for at least one, if not both parties, I wanted to ask, where do you think the rates would be as far as divorcing their significant others?
I don't necessarily believe that we would see a spike in divorce rates, but I do think that we would see an evolution of marriage if people were
Mm,
honest in it. I also believe that if people had to be 100% honest at the engagement, there'd be no engagements. I think rather, if we had to deal in complete honesty, I don't think we'd see a huge rise in divorces because people still built an entire life together and they're like, wait, can we break this into a partnership and figure this out so we don't have to divide everything?
mm,
Like, but I do believe that we would see a in marriages completely, like getting married. I think we would see such a huge decline in people getting married if they had to be upfront and honest at the beginning. If you're up there and you're talking about, I'm going to love you forever and everything, but you have to be like, you know what though? There's probably going to be times where I just don't want to touch you or talk to you. I might fall in love with you. I don't know. You know what I mean? And you go through those things. And it's like, if it was real, if people talked about these things, I don't think they would actually go through this. And the reason why is because
mm.
I believe for most people, monogamy was the default setting. It was not the chosen setting. A chosen setting has conversations, communication, everything. We're not just talking about, okay, so we're not going to have sex with other people. Done and done. Okay, so what about menopause? What about ED? What about when tragedy hits?
Mm,
Caring for the family is not the same as caring for the marriage. Great
mm.
that you go to work, great that you raise the kids, great that you do all that. What do you do to the marriage? That's not the same.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's
Ah,
like not the same. But I don't know that we would see. I think we would see an evolution of marriage, not necessarily a bunch of divorces. But I think that if we talked honestly on the front end, we wouldn't see anywhere near the number of marriages. I think too many people don't understand that incompatibility is just going to be a waste of your time. It's just an exercise in like just in agony.
So what does true monogamy mean to you? Because like you said, if physical or mental intimacy is missing in a relationship, like, is that even still monogamy?
I think in order to be like, I don't think you have to have sex. If you remove sex, and it's like, I don't think your marriage is, or your relationship is no longer monogamous. Like, there's a lot of things that go in for me that go into monogamy, but it is absolutely two equal voices that are consistently and constantly engaged in the relationship. There's no checking out. You know, when you make a commitment as big as monogamy, where you can be the only person that they are vulnerable with, that they're intimate with, you have to take that responsibility seriously. Because whether you believe it, like it or not, we impact our partner's mental health on a daily basis. If you make the commitment to be the person to show up for your person, you can't just check out for decades and think they're going to be fine when I come back. You're literally the only person they're allowed to be intimate with, to grow with, to do anything. Without that, not only can they not grow, your relationship, well, it's probably not worth much of the paper it's written on.
Does monogamy equal sexual exclusivity?
It's a component of it.
So why say that?
Because you need more than that. You need more than sexual exclusivity for monogamy. Like, and that's what I mean. That's default monogamy. Real monogamy is doing the work every single day to nurture your thoughts and feelings and pour into your partner, to show up, to be kind and considerate. What do you need? You know, what can I do for you? This is what I need. This is how we collaborate. This, you know, the intimacy. It's not just raising children. It's showing up for one another. It's people default and they're like, yeah, well, I've never cheated. Great. But you don't talk about dicks. Like,
no, you know what's crazy about that? I said it when I was talking with somebody last year, and I said there's a lot of people that are convinced that they were great in relationships simply because they didn't cheat physically. And I was like, there's just so much more that, like you said, that a relationship is dependent on than simply whether or not you stepped out sexually with somebody else. I was like, there's been some horrible people in relationships that just so happen to have not cheated. And a lot of the things, I was like, those things that you listed off, they don't see those as a priority anymore over time if they lose respect while still remaining in the relationship with that person. Wow. I can't. This is good. So why then do so many, hold on. So why do so many people, men and women, remain in sexless marriages versus agreeing to the open marriages / relationships? And is this related at all to like power, control, or something else?
I think for some, it's shame. Like, you're going to leave for sex? No, I'm going to leave because I was disrespected and my voice was taken. But yeah, that's what it's going to be brought down to. But if I cheated on you, you're free to go. If I cheat you out of, screw you. It's still you. That's the logic. You can't. It doesn't work like that. Just because great. That's like saying that's like doing the bare minimum. You didn't cheat. Fantastic. How'd you show up for your partner? How'd you pour into your relationship? Do you do things to make yourself better? What are you guys working on? What goals are you crushing? Do you guys sit down and talk? Do you still date? Do you just talk to one another about, what's going on with you? What do you need? Things like that. Do you still plan things? Do you revisit your marriage? Because here's the thing. If we get married and I say, okay, I no longer want kids, or finances are changing, or I want to move, all of those deserve a conversation and two voices. But removing sex, for some reason, it's just whatever. So along the way, they don't know where to cut it off. Because there's breadcrumbs, maybe it comes back, but there's also children, there's shared finances. There's what's going to happen if I have to start over after 50 years, looking in my rearview mirror going, do I have enough time? And There are people that are going to stay, and that's their right. Of all the choices, that's the one they choose. That's okay, because the whole point is that you choose. Out of all your options, that's what you're going to choose. That's fine. My advice, find a way that you can be happy and thrive in it and not just sit in the misery like you're winning some competition.
Mm-hmm.
You can, your partner doesn't want to be intimate with you no more, and you don't want to leave the marriage, okay. For whatever reason they don't want to open the marriage, I imagine a large part of monogamy is just about control anyway. Because how the hell are you going to tell me that sex is so important I can't have it with anybody else, but I'm also not going to get it in the relationship, but I can only get it in the relationship? Is sex important or not? Yeah, it's important where I get it from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow,
Yes.
saying that sex is not important enough for our relationship, but saying that I can't get it elsewhere because it is important. Oh, because it would be important, it would affect you.
Right.
Oh man,
No,
yeah.
they know
So
that intimacy.
ooh, what did you say? So sex is it's really about who it's with that makes it more as important.
Yeah, because they're like, well, I don't want to have sex with my partner. Okay, so then why not open the relationship? If sex holds absolutely no value to you or intimacy, what's the big deal? What's
Oh,
the
so
big
they
deal?
know its value. Oh my God, they know its value.
Right, but they don't want to put in the time and effort to maintain the agreement they committed to, but they don't want to lose the comfort of everything they built.
Oh, they know that it's valuable, and that's why they're
Of course they
withholding.
do. If sex wasn't valuable to people, if sex wasn't that valuable, if intimacy wasn't that valuable, we'd all be open. They wouldn't give a shit because nobody's going to move on emotions. We're just going to move with strategy.
Yeah.
But they know. But here's another thing. When you soft quit your marriage and then you give up on your partner and things like that, yeah, I'd be scared that they're going to leave too, because I clearly left and only stayed for the shit I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like at
Soft
some
quit.
point,
Oh.
stop looking at the sun and look in the fucking mirror. Like, come on.
Why do so many couples end up in these type of situations in your opinion? Is it just simply that they're feeling like they're like is it just fear of starting over? Is it fear of like the divorce process? Like why do you think so many people even end up in this space where sex is taken off the table like that?
For a lot of people, I know that for many people, it's like emotionally unsafe. And when it's emotionally unsafe, like when their feelings are minimized and things like that, they don't want to be physical.
Okay.
And I bet there are a wealth of those. But I think a large, and I mean a very large portion, are just people who are lazy in their relationships and didn't do the work to maintain it. And they think, well, if I don't want it now, because they probably didn't even take care of themselves, if I don't want it now, like, why do you want it? Like, let's just do this now. And it's like when you give up on yourself, by default, you give up on your partner and your relationship.
Facts.
It's fucking hello. How can you show up for me when you don't show up for yourself? And then that's my partner. So if anything happens to me, I have to count on the one person who fucking gave up on themselves. No thanks.
Hold on. How should people respond to this if they find themselves in these situations from both sides? Like when the sexual dynamic changes and it's not due to health related reasons, what should both parties, both the party that's currently withholding and the party that's currently doing all the pursuing, how should they respond while that's happening in your thoughts?
Like while the marriage or while the sex is being taken?
Yeah.
If a partner were to show up and be honest and talk about and say, hey, I want to remove sex or I want to open the rights, anything that around sex, the best thing that you can do is to sit and listen to hear. Because they're going to tell you everything they're feeling and going through. It doesn't mean that sex is going to leave your relationship. And it might not mean that it's going to open anything. For a lot of people, especially as they keep going through marriages, they don't know. They've never had these conversations. They're afraid. They're not sure how they're feeling. They're not sure if they're going to be able to go the rest of their lives with one person or with sex all the time. But if you sit and you can listen to process and not just respond and not blame or take it personally, and not if they come to you and they're talking and you don't think of it as like, oh, it's me, it's all me, they don't like me. It's like, I tell my clients this, think of it like this. It's not your issue, but it impacts you. So you definitely deserve the answers, the questions, the answers, and all of that. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that it just might not be about you. But it impacts you. And that is absolutely why you deserve the conversations as much as you need so that you guys can move through. But if your partner shows up and is like, wants to talk about sex and removing it or opening it, and you melt down, it's not safe. It's automatically not safe. My partner isn't listening to hear. It's immediately a confrontation, a deterioration. It's just going to cycle through and through because my partner's hearing, I no longer want to have sex with you. Or it's your fault, or you, depending on where their relationship is or how the other person, responds to information and that, right? But if your partner, the amount of people that have never spoken about sex before or during their marriage is astounding to me. How do you even know that you were compatible?
You know what? I think that we haven't been primed to think about all the worst case scenarios and have those tough conversations early on. And I realized it because my wife and I, we recently have had conversations about how difficult some of these conversations, like, okay, for instance, as an example, the idea of needing a paternity test, that's usually not something a lot of couples discuss until after she's pregnant or the child's already here. Talking about, prenuptial agreements. It's seen as very offensive. A lot of these things, if they're kind of put out there, it would make us have to face the reality of like the nature of people, I think. And number two, it sounds crazy to say, but I think people would feel like they would be risky. It sounds bad, but like you're going to risk the good of the relationship that you have now for something that may or may not happen that may or may not happen in the future just by bringing it up today. So I'll give you a case. So we have a great relationship now, and I bring up a tough topic and we don't see eye to eye, and then we're fighting about it and going. But the possibility that may have never been our issue in the future, they'll live off the ignorance of the unknown versus deal with the reality of the tough conversations that could lead to this situation potentially not being a good fit anymore. So in their worldview, it's like it's better to live in the blissful ignorance and maybe avoid that than to bring it up and increase the chances of them walking away or me having to walk away. It's counterintuitive. But I understand why if you don't do these conversations probably in the first few months, let alone the first 6 months, it's no different than I think the people ask, why did they stay? Why did they stay so long? It's because they've already built equity. They've already put in time and they feel like they're going to lose. They're risking a lot just by even having the conversation. Does that make sense?
It is because but here's what people don't get. It is counterintuitive because this is what people, they are afraid of it because it's so vulnerable and they don't know what the response is going to be. They don't know the outcome. So, but here's the thing and I tell people this, I say, avoiding the conversation ensures the deterioration, the disconnection. Having the conversations builds the relationships. Avoiding the conversations breaks them. A marriage will die in silence.
Let me write that down because that was a bar. You could see. Oh my God.
It's really important that we show up to the table in a way. It's not about being right. And I tell you know what, this is a great example. I have this couple at the table, and he's apologizing. He's like, I don't get it. And so I'm like going through their stuff and I'm reading, and I was like, I see where you're miscommunicating here. Because she's telling him and he's like, I'm sorry. And she's like, no. And he's like, I don't get it, Natalie. And so he's like, I don't get it. And I was like, She doesn't want your apology. She doesn't need you to be wrong. She needs you to understand. Because it's happened 3 times. The story isn't fixing it. If you tell her you understand and explain how you understand, there's a better chance you're not apologizing for it again. She doesn't need you to be wrong. She needs you to understand what's happening so it doesn't happen again. And then it was like, it flipped a switch in him so quick, and he was like, oh, he took it on himself that if I just be accountable for everything, then it's done. No. And she saw through that, and she was like, no, I don't want you. It's not about you being wrong. That's not a thing. I don't need to blame you. We're working through this. So to work through it, I need you to understand. And that's where it's like, that's where I help people at the table. A lot of times it's like, mostly I help people get through that initial conversation that continuously breaks down and deteriorates over and over and over again. And they just can't, because they show up and they're like, I already know what's going to happen.
Wow.
I'm already prepared. And that's what I do. I facilitate conversation. So it's like, wait a second, we're not going to bring in all this. We're just going to do the heart of the matter, which is finances. Let's get to that. We can leave all the passive aggressive bullshit on the backside for now. But let's get to here, because once we get through this conversation, that other stuff will just slide away.
Yeah. Who struggles the most with receiving your feedback and challenges to show up and fix the relationship, especially in actual coaching sessions, as well as what you post on social media?
I find the ones who kick back the most are the ones who have like sexual trauma, but honestly, it's like, I do get hard feminists on my page, and some of them come and it's like really like, and I will destroy them every time. I don't care. You're not going to come to my page and just hate on people. I worked with high-risk federal offenders for 10 years, all male. I still don't believe most men are bad. Like, you're not going to come and put your narrative on my page. It's not happening anytime soon. It's just not. And they try to do that. Like, so I get that on there, right? But I don't use genders in my videos.
I noticed that.
I don't use genders.
You do not use genders, but yet men resonate with your message. And I see so many women who are trying to attack you. And I'm like, why? Is that really kind of the picture you've kind of experienced since you've been posting this stuff? Like, when it comes to the men and women that engage with your stuff? Because again, I looked through your whole thing. You never say men or women. People, you know what it is? I think a hit dog collars. I think a hit dog collars.
Always. Do you know what made me see this so differently? Was when I started doing content about marriage and fidelity, I started to go into these sexless marriage groups, and they were 50% women. And then it took me about 8 months, and I figured it out. I was like, now I get it. Okay. So men and women alike turn off the taps just for different reasons or whatever. But here's the thing. Men complain about it differently. They'll complain about it out in front, because I'm 48 and I remember the term getting lucky. So it was never a secret that the sex of a woman drops during these times, right? Because they called it getting lucky, but everyone laughed like it was a joke, and now no one's fucking laughing at the joke that they're in. But that's what it was that. So they knew that. But we also grew up with all men want sex all the time, and that's simply not true.
No.
And you have these men who are in marriages and they have low libidos or none, they're asexual or whatever, and they don't know why. So they isolate. They don't go to therapy or anything. They isolate, and then their wives let them save face. Because why do I have the only man that doesn't want to have sex all the time when my libido's high? I thought this was... So they suffer differently. They suffer in the support groups. They want answers. They want to help. They don't want to be out here talking about how their husband's a fucking failure in bed or anything like that. They don't do that. It's different because we're taught that all men want sex all the time, and it's not true. And it hurts men so much. It hurts them so much. And it hurts their partners who are like, it's okay. There's so much confusion, because I thought you love sex and want it all the time. Like, I have a high libido. And now I'm finding out that's not the truth. But my husband's so ashamed and embarrassed or angry and confused. And it's like, doesn't know how to handle it or deal with it. Many men, even if the pill won't work for them.
Ooh. You said something that I think in the conversation, we subliminally just assume it's the women holding out. Like you said, between the testosterone levels dropping, the low libidos, men coming up with distractions and techniques to keep themselves from being in awkward situations to where they either reject her or try to act like they don't want it. We don't talk enough about the reverse of that when it comes to this discussion of the women that are experiencing sexless relationships through no fault of their own.
Yep.
And I have worked with some ladies who talked about how they, became so self-conscious of themselves, losing weight, dieting, changing their outfits around the house, and he just walks past like nothing. And like you said, these ladies have also communicated it. And out of pride, ego, embarrassment, they won't go. And I think I know one of the reasons why. It's not only the initial shame of what they're feeling, it's the fear that if they then try to quote unquote fix it and able to or unable to perform, that's just another level of humiliation. It's another level of feeling additional shame because not even the pill works, not even doing this works, not even a diet works. It gets to a point where it's like that's just not going to be something I'm going to acknowledge. And I'm just going to focus on what I do have control over and I'm still good at, regardless of what it does to her. And I'm like, whoa, that's a thing.
When women show up on my page, the men show up and say, that's because your husband's cheating on you.
It's not always true.
Or they'll harass them so badly, like, well, welcome to my world, blah, blah. And it's like, wait a second. You don't like when your experience is minimized. Why are you? And this is my thing. And I swear on this. I think many men oppose my numbers or oppose them sitting at the table because then they have to look at their own partners and be like, wait a second. Did you just give up? Because half the table is women with high libidos who love all this. So where's the narrative gone?
Women that are complaining about them suffering in sexless relationships that they want fixed and that are not being solved exposes the women that are showing up in relationships that are lazy or have given up. Oh my God.
And that is really hard for men to sit there and listen to when they have believed their partners for decades without any doctor saying differently.
Oh, snap. That's oh my God, that's accurate. To acknowledge women having legitimate complaints about this means you have to reevaluate if the woman you're with is giving you the bare minimum. Wow.
And here's the thing. There might come a time in everyone's life where you cannot have the physical act of sex. Okay. But why does all intimacy have to ride shotgun on the way out?
Because sex is not, it never is the only thing. It's never the only thing that dissipates. It's a package deal, especially for the person who says, I'm shutting this off. It's the physical touch, it's the intimacy, it's the closeness, it's the connection. It's the opening up of things, even just the day-to-day attempts of showing that you still care about them. Much of that is kind of gone.
Yeah.
Package deal.
The thing is that when you slowly change your marriage on your own, it's no longer a collaboration. And that means resentment is going to move in. And it's going to take hold. And I facilitated anger management for over a decade to mandated clients in my community. That is one hell of a strong drug. Anger will make people do shit they never, ever wanted to do. And they hold on to it like it's a trophy.
What does healthy compromise then look like in this situation where, let's say, one person, maybe they do have mismatched sex drives, right? Maybe, so instead of just cold turkey cutting off the sex and all forms of physical affection, what do you think compromise would look like from both sides?
I think they have to, well, I think it comes down to like, okay, why does sex have to leave? And then it's because you have to flow from there, right? You have to flow from something. So it's like, you're removing sex because you're disinterested. Okay, let's talk about monogamy and the importance of it then, or open marriage. Because you're not coming to the table because you physically can't do it. You just want to give up. I'm not giving up my sex for sport. That's not part of the agreement. And that would crush me. That's a way I used to express myself, to love you, to do those things. And you want to remove that from me, but keep me? I'm not interested.
But if so what happens then if the party is saying, well, I just don't emotionally feel it. I don't feel safe. Like what's the compromise there? Because again, like you said, you don't want to force anyone to do anything, especially go against their consent. So then what does compromise from both of them looks like if they're going to stay in that relationship?
If you're going to stay in the monogamous commitment, you both have to work together to nurture your thoughts and feelings. So if you say to me, Natalie, I don't feel emotionally safe in my relationship, or here's an example. I had a couple at my table. For a while, she didn't feel emotionally safe. So it was back to, things weren't working out. And I said, okay, but you went to therapy and they gave you those things. Are you using them? No. Going to therapy and doing therapy aren't the same.
No, yes.
I have a gym membership, but if I don't step in the fucking building,
yes.
Like,
yes.
it's not the same.
Versus doing. Oh, yes. Like, that's so true.
Like, I don't think people understand that you have to actively forgive. You have to actively let go. Actively. When it pops in your head, you have to change that actively. Yeah, time will heal things, but you have to do it too. And they just don't.
Wow. So good. Just a few more questions. I don't want to hold you. This is so good. Oh man. You said in quite a few of your posts, and you kind of alluded to it today, that marriage is really is an actual collaboration of two equal voices. Both in this topic and in general. If both men and women need to actually change their view of the marriage actually being a collaboration that includes two equal voices, what does that look like in your mindset when it comes to stuff like this?
Oh, you have to bring respect back to all marriage. You have to bring back open and honest communication. You have to have a safe arena to speak in, to be heard in, to process in. Like, marriage is really hard. It's really hard. People banked on like, oh, we'll figure it out later. No, you won't. Oh, I'm going to marry my soulmate. Sure. And the stork's going to deliver the baby. Like, people were unrealistic. It's like, marriage is hard work. It's a partnership of combining two lives, values, everything, hopes, dreams, everything. And then consistently on a daily basis, working at it. You cannot check out because you're the only person for your person. That's what you signed on for. And I get that people say, Natalie, I don't like the word obligation. Fine, what's your responsibility?
They don't like that either.
It's not hard because you're going to be held accountable if you're sitting at my table. And truly, the only ones who avoid the conversations do so because they can avoid accountability. Because with accountability, there's the expectation of change. And who wants to change when they're getting everything they want? Just a few breadcrumbs gives me everything I want. Sure, it comes at their expense, their mental health, their physical health, their whole self-worth. But who gives a shit? I'm getting what I want.
Wow. Do you think that there's ever legitimate reasons for non-health related reasons that people are justified for someone to make the decision to force their other party into forced celibacy? Do you think that there's ever justified reasons? And the reason why I'm saying this is because, like, you mentioned emotional safety. Let's take the health, the physical health related issues.
Okay, but can we take out domestic violence too?
Sure.
Like in an otherwise healthy marriage where like two people are functioning and everything and one just wants to stop? No. The other person can say.
What about cheating, infidelity?
What do you mean? So if the partner had cheated and then came back to the relationship, then they said, well, we're not going to have sex?
If the party that was cheated on feels like they don't feel safe right now, but they're still in a relationship, they haven't left, they were cheated on, and right now they don't want to touch or be intimate with the party who cheated on them.
as long
Uh-huh.
as they are actively working on healing, and this is not a program to punish the person who cheated on you.
Mm.
You have to act, if you're saying I'm going to forgive you, you better be doing the work to forgive them. But I don't think that happens. I think a lot of people take them back because revenge is sweet. And you know what? You hurt my ego.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to pay.
You know what? During that, I agree with that time. And of course, you can't necessarily come up with a time frame. But I would say if it's cheating or infidelity involved, within the first 3 to 6 months, like what's the level of work that you're showing me that you're trying to address this, that you're moving in the right direction? I think it would be unfair to say, well, I know you were cheated on, but you got a month to decide if you're going to be able to do this or not. I think that's
Oh, no. You don't, nothing like that. It's more of like the person is actively trying to heal. No, healing takes time and it's not linear. But it's not that because you hurt somebody, you don't get to decide how they recover or how long it takes them. It could take them a couple of years because it
mm-hmm,
hurts deeply.
mm-hmm,
But it's about that they're actively wanting to forgive them. They want to have the relationship. They want that. They're not doing it, wasting their own lives going, haha, one day it's coming and I'm going to get back at them. They're actively doing, because
mm-hmm.
when you go like this and you're like trying to like revenge, you're literally just bringing down your own quality of life too.
Well, it sounds crazy. The way things are all going out here, and thinking about myself, if I cheat, I'm gonna have at least enough self respect to not wait 2 years for you to decide if you even still want me in that way. I think that for me, I think it's realistic because I know we said don't give a time frame. I think that's what ends up happening for how some people end up in these very long perpetual situations because the goalposts can keep moving. There could be just different explanations for why each
Oh,
season is different, right? But they're improving in this area versus that area. It's like I do think after 6 months to a year, the conversation needs to be realistically: are we staying together and this is open now? Are we leaving? Are we ending things? I don't think the 2, 3, 5 year bids that people end up falling because what it is when you don't have when you have a SMART goal, it's specific, it's measurable, it's realistic, and it's a timetable. So whenever you come into actual therapeutic environment, you're not supposed to do therapy for 2 years. You're not
no,
supposed to do
I don't
therapy for
believe
a year,
forever
right?
therapy.
Right.
No.
So even with a situation like this, I don't say I'm rushing them to like, well, y'all got to start having sex. I'm looking for what you're looking for, but I do think that when there's a time frame that has to be at least an internal clock for both parties,
Yeah.
or at least and it's been kind of communicated. I think that the likelihood of us pushing it to year 2, year 3 is probably less likely if we're aware that there should be some type of graduated expectations
Yeah.
after
You're
certain.
right though. You're right though, because but here's the thing: when
Mm,
somebody is actively working on it, they're making all those milestones without you even having to click them along.
true, that's true.
Do you know how many times I've had a couple at the table,
Hmm.
and or I've had one of them at the table, and their partner's been in therapy for like a year and a half, and I'm like, they're not doing therapy. They are having a very expensive vent session. I said, ask if you can go to therapy with them. I said,
Hmm.
and taking these 4 questions, just taking these 4 questions in front of their therapist, though, in front of their therapist. We ripped the entire roof off that fiasco of just going in and talking shit to your therapist.
Yep.
Meanwhile, my client is like slowly losing their marbles trying to figure this out. There's no way a year and a half of therapy produces 0 results if you're doing therapy. Go in
Mhm.
with these 4 questions and let's see how they respond with their therapist in the room. And the therapist knew right then and there that their client wasn't doing any of the work. They also knew that I had worked so hard with my client that my client could no longer be provoked and could sit there and take every conversation like a champ.
Yep.
But as
Yep.
soon as my client could do that, their client stopped showing up to the table because they could no longer trigger my client.
Mm.
And that's when we figured out that my client was paying a lot of money and spending a lot of their years for their partner to just live in the comfort of it all and
Just
not need
paying
any of the
for
therapy.
an expensive gossip session
That's it.
while the other party has to do all the work.
And I flat out said to the therapist, I said, I'm not going to tell my client to work harder when yours isn't working at all.
Ooh, wow. This was so
So
listen, this was so good and I love what you're doing and again we talked back and forth about men, women, how both parties are showing up. I love how, like for me, I'm personally now labeling myself or starting to, I guess, be labeled as more of a men's rights activist.
mhm,
And I think it's more so because I see so much is skewed when it comes to social media, propaganda, government money and where it's going and who they think needs support in in society or whatever. So that's why I advocate for men, but it doesn't mean that I'm ignorant or unaware of things that are,
right,
disproportionately affecting women too.
right.
And I just think enough people are already doing it. So that's why I'm choosing to do it. But the way that you're doing it, where you're using gender neutral terms or you're no gender, you're not making any gender references at all in your content and seeing the avalanche of men and women engaging, I'm like, you have to keep doing that because I think that's probably the newest model that I've never really seen anybody doing what you're doing and talking about this particular topic. It's rare for people to not kind of lean to a side one way or the other. And it's true. I have had female clients who have also had this complaint, and it wasn't a fault of theirs. It was obviously the men or husbands that they were with. And I love what you're doing. So thank you for coming through. I enjoyed this.
Thank you for having me. I love this. This is a great conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And real quick, why don't you let everybody know where they can find and support you?
Well, I have 3 books on Amazon. I have my memoir, my pre-marriage handbook, The Conversations That Build with Vows of the Moment Not, and I just released my short story book. I'm on every social media platform with just my name, Natalie Warner. And my website is themarriagephilosopher.com, and I do complimentary consultations. So come to the table and let's talk.
Hey, everybody! If you see in this, whether it's morning, noon, or night, please make sure that you support Natalie. And I tell y'all, every time I bring people on, they just have very interesting, thought provoking perspectives. She's clearly doing the Lord's work. She's doing a great job of this. And if for a lot of you, both men and women, she's providing a language that maybe many of us were struggling to be able to articulate. Now you're understanding what's happening, how you got in it, and how you can get out. So, Natalie, thank you for coming through. I'm gonna close things out from here. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. So, y'all, I hope that y'all thoroughly enjoyed that. That was very interesting and thought provoking. And I thought that just the way she analyzes this stuff, she strips all the fluff. She gets hold on. This is the core issue of what's going on, and when you hit that, it really holds us accountable, straight up. Why you're staying, why you're doing this, why you are working to fix it or not. And I think that when we get back to those bare bone questions, we legit can waste a whole lot less time. So, guys, I hope that y'all enjoyed this and thank you again. So, if you guys haven't checked out the most recent interviews over the last week or so, please feel free to do so. Make sure y'all hype this stuff. Make sure y'all like it. And again, now that YouTube has not only been able to support with the super chats or becoming members, they now have gems and trophies that y'all can purchase. So, thank you all for all the various ways that you guys have shown support. And shout out to everybody who's been submitting donations via Cash App and as well as PayPal. And a few of you have promised that, once I hit 100,000, y'all are going to send a love offering your boys' way. So appreciate you, man. Thank you for that. We're close, man. We're pushing. And like I said, come August, your boy has some major announcements that I think are going to heavily contribute to us being able to hit that final 6,000, 7,000 subscriber stretch to try to hit 100K before the end of the year. So thank you again. Make sure that y'all show love. Make sure that y'all let me know where y'all watching from, especially those of y'all that are from out of the US. And have a good evening or day. And I will see y'all on the other side. Peace.